This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
Now, here's the deal, Mark. Listen, we have been through quite a lot as a society and an economy the past couple years here, right? We have folks that are living under piles of debt, just trying to stay ahead and put groceries on the table. And they take kind of that pocket change that's left and they start kind of using it to scramble and catch up when it comes to their retirement savings. And I know that you talk to people like this day in and day out. So people who have extra money to invest and they want to do it, in the best possible way, a safe way, and obviously a tax efficient manner. How do you guide them on this road?
Oh, wow. There's lots of opportunities. We've got to look at every person's situation. And, the first most important thing, of course, is having an emergency fund in place that's totally accessible. Typically, people say 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses should be at the bank. I believe personally in what I call the magic number. That's whatever amount it is that you need to be able to sleep well at night. You need to have that at the bank first. And once we've met that, then we want to max out our retirement plan options. If that's an individual retirement account, if that's a 401k, 403b, 457, or whatever kind of retirement accounts you have available, we want to max those out. And, you can put up to $8,000 into a IRA when you're over the age of 50, or up to $31,000 into a 401k or 403b. So these are options. But the unique thing we find is often we'll be dealing with professional people. For example, you might have two medical doctors that are a married couple, or attorneys, or ophthalmologist, or whatever, but they have good income, and in many cases they've spent many years paying off student loans. And then here they are in their early 50s, mid 50s, and they're in a total scramble because they're trying to slam away as much money as they can, and they can afford to put away more than $30,000 into their 401k. And the question is, where do we do it? I got a similar situation with there's a retired New York police officer, and he retired with a pension of about $15,000, and as a single man, that's more than he needs to live on. And so he has a similar kind of situation. It's like, I've got this extra cash flow. What do I do with it? I can't really contribute to retirement plans the way I once did. What do these people do? And there are absolutely options, and particularly we will want to go tax-free. One of my favorites, that it's been a foundation of my personal plan, is maximum funded life insurance. People don't understand that when you listen to Ed Slott and some of these other tax specialists on PBS and the like, they'll tell you, they're not even in the financial services industry, they're tax accountants, and they'll tell you that the most privileged vehicle within the Internal Revenue Code is life insurance. Under Section 7702 of the Internal Revenue Code allows people to accumulate money within a life insurance policy and access it absolutely income tax free. Now, understand, when I talk about maximum funded life insurance, I'm talking about policies that are designed exactly opposite of how 99% of Americans are familiar with life insurance. This is the exact opposite. Most insurance agents don't even fully understand what I'm talking about because they're trained to design policies that maximize commissions. And what I'm talking about cuts the commissions down 2/3. So the people who do what I'm talking about are making 1/3 per client as your traditional life insurance agents. But the basic idea is that we want to cram as much money as we can into an insurance contract so we can do three things specifically. We can grow that money in a safe environment with market-like rates of return. We can grow it. We can access the money, meaning if you need to use that money before age 59 and a half or whatever the situation may be, you can do that. And number three is you can transfer that money to the people or causes that you love the most, tax-free through the death benefit. And so people just don't understand really how you can do that. And one of the most powerful uses of it nowadays is the fact that we can access the death benefit while we're alive. With the vast majority of these products, you can access the death benefit while you're alive for personal chronic illness expenses, also known as long-term care expenses. And so when we need help dressing, eating, bathing, toileting, these things we don't want to think about or talk about, that day will come for 3 out of 4 Americans where they have to hire helpers to come into their home, or they have to go into a facility, for example. And the beauty of these multi-purpose policies is that we don't really know what God's going to bring into our lives in the future. And if we're like 3 out of 4 Americans who are going to experience long-term care expenses, we're going to need a pool of money to pay for that, because the average cost, at least here in Vegas, is about $8,500 a month. Now, that's average, means that there's some less, some more than that. But if you figure both spouses can be exposed to that cost, this can be a really, really devastating thing for people. And so people who have extra money that they want to put aside. They basically want to get it off the tax radar, as it were, and get it off of the personal injury attorney's radar, where it's private, it's asset protected, and it has probate benefits. Well, then life insurance actually can be a wonderful part of a financial plan. It absolutely has been part of mine. Matter of fact, I'll give you one more example on this. I have a client down in Texas who was referred to me when he was 33 years old. Mm-hmm. So he's probably about 37 or 8 now, but he was referred to me by a national law firm, and he understood these concepts as a tax planning tool. And so he's putting $100,000 a year into a maximum funded index universal life insurance policy, and he's using those accumulated values to be able to fund his real estate business. So he does a side business where he purchases rundown homes and he fixes them up and he flips them for a profit. And he basically recycles his money through the life insurance policy. And he uses this as a tax-free tool for funding his real estate enterprise. And this is a guy who is not married and has no children. So he has absolutely zero traditional reason for having life insurance, other than that he understands the tax advantages that are uniquely associated with that particular vehicle. So it's not for everyone, but I have many clients that are doing $100,000 and more a year that they're putting into these policies simply to be able to grow money in a tax advantaged manner. So obviously these are typically people with higher incomes that are doing that much, of course. Mm-hmm. But if we're looking to reposition money, if there's inheritances and things like that, we can do some really cool things where we can cascade benefits down across multiple generations. So that was exactly the case with this retired police officer from New York. And he's got more income than he needs. We're showing him a way. Here's how you can set money aside. If you need it, you can get at it. If you don't need it, within your children. He's got 2 daughters that would benefit from this tremendously, particularly because it will go to them in a tax-free manner. So for most Americans who are doing this, they're doing it because they're trying to replace Social Security that'll be lost in retirement when the first spouse dies, and because they're trying to create money for chronic illness. But I'll just sum it up and say these are multi-purpose policies. We can use these in unique ways where we can grow, access, and transfer money completely income tax-free when we do it properly and legally. Of course, has to be said. So
you mentioned our pal Ed Slott a few moments ago. I want to continue this conversation about being tax efficient here, because I know it's on top of a lot of folks' minds here, especially when it comes down to the question of, will the Republican Congress extend the so-called Trump tax cuts? Tax guru Ed Slott, he says he thinks so, but he tells Morningstar that no one should take the lowest tax rates in history for granted.
Every year you have low tax brackets like we have now. Take advantage of them every year. Don't start slowing down just because you know you may have more years of this. Take advantage of every year you have. And if we keep having low rates, take advantage of Roths while we can get them on sale. Taxes are on sale. Everybody likes a sale. You can get tens of thousands of tax savings now. So think about it like that. If taxes were on sale year after year, take advantage of that.
Listen, Mark, I am the first to tell you I love a sale, even a BOGO. Bring it my way. Love me some sales. And of course, he mentions here after-tax Roth. So first of all, explain what this is, and then how can they help somebody's retirement picture?
Well, first up, hats off to Ed Slott. He is a phenomenal person at proselytizing these ideas. He does not sell financial products, and he has taught Americans that we're all going to have to pay taxes, so why not pay them on our own terms? That's really what it boils down to. When we look at traditional IRAs versus the Roth IRA, that's ROTH, Roth, named after Senator Roth. When we compare traditional versus Roth IRAs, the proposition is basically, do you want to pay the taxes now or do you want to pay them later? With the traditional IRA approach or traditional 401k, you get a tax break now. So if a couple, for example, is making $100,000 and they're putting $10,000 into a retirement plan, then they only report $90,000 as taxable income for this year, and it feels good because they're getting a break. The alternative to that is you don't get the break now. If you make $100,000, you report $100,000, you pay tax on the $100,000, and then you use your after-tax money to put it into a Roth IRA that can grow and never be taxed again. So with the traditional IRA, we're postponing the tax into the future, hoping that somehow tax rates are going to be lower, because that's what Wall Street's been trying to convince us for the last 50 years. Conversely, the Roth IRA says, no, let's pay the tax now so that we never have to pay the tax later if we do it properly. meaning you've got to have the account for 5 years into age 59 and a half before you can access the earnings tax-free. But the cool thing is most people have spent the last 20, 30, 40 years accumulating money on a pre-tax or a tax-deferred basis. And now with the Roth IRA, they can do what are called conversions, meaning to the degree that they're willing to pay the tax on that money now, they can basically liberate it and convert it from tax deferred into a tax-free status. And so we got to be strategic about this. I mean, for example, you might have $500,000 or something in a traditional never before taxed IRA or 401k account. Well, if you converted that all in one piece, that means that $500,000 is going to land on all the rest of your other income, and you're going to get hammered on taxes. And so what we do strategically for our clients is we create basically a roadmap that shows them how to convert that money strategically over a period of years. So instead of, for example, converting the full $500,000 in 1 year, they might convert $50,000 each year over a 10-year period, or $100,000 each year over a 5-year period. The point being that you can choose how much tax you pay today and thereby liberate this money that up until now has been tax deferred. Deferred meaning postponed. We're going to pay the tax sooner or later. So as Ed Slott so wisely puts it, why not choose to pay the tax now when we're in historically low tax environment? And so that's one of the key parts of my practice, is showing people how to legally retire tax-free. Emphasis again on legal, and the Roth conversion is one great tool. It's one of our best friends in this planning process. Now, it's important to point out that not all Americans can retire tax-free as we talk about that. It's absolutely possible for, I would say, the majority of Americans, but not all.
Real quick here, Mark, I know a lot of people have called the show and said, I've been listening for a while. I've just finally got time to call, or I was listening, but I've just been busy. And I don't know, all this stuff going on with President Trump and the economy. It's made me a little more apprehensive. What do you say to those folks out there? Regardless, it doesn't matter what the reason is about them being apprehensive. What is kind of like your elevator pitch to say, look, guys, get on board now, because things are a-changing on the daily. Let's be honest, whether it's taxes, economy, what have you, it's crucial to have a plan in place.
Yeah, I would say first off, just recognize that you're normal. I mean, this sense of anxiety, seriously though, a lot of people are anxious. That's, one of the things I like doing at the classes I teach at the college is, time permitting, I like to ask each participant why they came, if there's something specific they want to get out of the class. I do it so it helps me be able to meet the needs of the class attendees, but also I do it because it helps the class attendees realize that they're not alone. Most people have different anxieties, but the anxieties are often common and they're shared by others. And so it will continue to be an anxiety until you get solutions. And that's why we invite people to come to our classes and come talk to us, because we can show you solutions. We can show you strategies to get from point A to point B. If you have a dream destination, we can help you get there, but it's not going to happen by chance. You have to know what it is you want. And so we've got to talk. And that's a key thing, is just opening up with one another and allowing us to ask questions. Again, we've seen hundreds and hundreds of families go through this process, and we've learned a lot through that process of helping people and listening to people and watching how they implement recommendations, sometimes how they don't implement recommendations, sometimes how they screw themselves up because they don't listen to the recommendations. But you don't know what you don't know. And there are those of us who have specialized in this particular arena. And to the degree people want to have success, they don't want to just wing it, then we would say, come visit with us and we can help eliminate those question marks that you might have. At the end of the day, it's about helping people have confidence so they can sleep well at night in preparation for retirement, and then that they can live really well in retirement. And again, it's not all about money. Money is just fuel. If we don't know where we want to go, it doesn't matter how much fuel we have, because it's just going to be wasted. So we've got to really clarify, what is it you want to experience in this last chapter of life, which really should be the most significant chapter for each of us. And again, it's not about money. Money is just fuel.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts' principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and/or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.